Okay, hello everyone. Good morning, all of you. So let's start with next topic in machine learning. So just to start with, let me tell you what we have discussed in the last session. So we have completed discussion on linear regression, right? So we have actually discussed the concept of linear regression, and we talked about data fetching, data cleaning, data pre-processing, right? Visualization, and then how to create the model. And overall, we have seen implementation of linear regression. So we have implemented an example related to prediction with the help of linear regression, in which we predicted what will be the chance of admission of a student to get admission in foreign university for masters. Right now, in today's session, we will try to start with, as I told you, I will be starting with logistic regression. Okay, so let's see, and then we will go for decision tree and this topic. Okay, so let's start with this one now. Logistic regression, new topic. I hope in the previous algorithm, whatever we have learned, everyone has gone through that. Only one recording, I think it is yet to share. I'm yet to share that. I'll be sharing the last recording also. Okay, so let's go and let's try to see logistic regression. So here also we will be discussing some examples. We will go for implementation of logistic regression. But yes, there is a difference actually. There is a difference between use of logistic regression and linear regression. Linear regression, we have seen that it is used for prediction, for solving prediction types of problems. But logistic regression is actually used for classification, for solving classification types of problems. Right. So let me open this logistic regression file. Now see here, as I told you that logistic regression can be used to solve classification types of problems. Remember this. But both of those, whatever we have seen, whether it's linear regression, right, or whether it's a logistic regression, both of these actually are under the approach called as supervised learning approach. Because in both the cases, see, this one is used to solve prediction types of problems, this one is used to solve classification types of problems. So I mean to say, suppose if you want to create a model which will help you to detect whether a person is affected by whether a person is COVID positive or COVID negative, for example. So yes, logistic regression, classification type of problem. Whether a student is in the category of pass, fail, and so on. Number of examples. Whether a particular email is a spam email or not, spam or not, right? So that's an example of logistic. What you can say classification type of problem. So to solve those types of problems, you can make use of logistic regression. Now, let's start with logistic regression. Before that, let me tell you, if you remember, in case of linear regression, what was the equation we have seen for linear regression? So we actually use equation of a straight line, y is equal to mx plus c, or we have written it something like this, y is equal to beta 0 plus beta 1 x, right? So similarly, there will be equation for logistic regression. Okay, so in case of logistic regression, we use something called as sigmoid. Sigmoid function we make use of. Now, why is it so? Why we cannot solve a classification problem with the help of linear regression? Why you cannot make this kind of equation to solve classification types of problems? Why to use sigmoid function? We will try to talk about that. Simple reason is, if see what happens is, as I told you, logistic regression can be used to solve classification types of problems, but classification actually works, or logistic regression actually works on the concept of probability. Now everyone is aware about probability, right? So what happens is, let's say there is a problem. There is a classification problem to be solved. Now that classification problem is like you need to classify a patient as a patient affected by cancer or not affected by cancer, right? So let's see. So what's going to happen is, logistic regression is going to find out the probability of that particular row of that person. What is the probability that he is in the class of affected by cancer? Suppose this is 0.6, then obviously probability not affected by cancer will be 0.4, because we know that probability addition of all the probabilities is always 1, and probability always lies between 0 and 1. This is a simple basic thing about probability, right? So it means that in case of logistic regression is going to help you to classify a record into one of these classes, or it helps you to solve classification problem. But the basic idea behind logistic regression is to use probability concept. And we know that probability value lies between 0 and 1, right? So that's why it makes use of a function called as sigmoid function. Now, what's a sigmoid function? So, sigmoid function, it looks like something like this. This is how sigmoid function looks like. Again, you might be knowing about it. So the main property of a sigmoid function is that all the values of sigmoid function, it gives all the values always between 0 and 1. And for probability, we need all the values between 0 and 1 only. So sigmoid function takes care for that. That is the first reason why sigmoid function is actually used in case of logistic regression. Because logistic regression makes the probability, and probability is like value should always be between 0 and 1, and sigmoid function is a function which always gives you values between 0 and 1. That is one thing. And if you talk about equation of a sigmoid function, the equation of a sigmoid function it is something like this: 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power minus t, where this or maybe t is like, it is actually what we have done it for linear regression. So you can say that this t can be beta 0 plus beta 1x. Okay, so it means what's going to happen is, if I put this particular value instead of this t, the equation is going to become what? 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power minus of beta 0 plus beta 1x. Something like this you can write it. Or this equation, I could have written it like this also. This equation, I could have written it like this. See, 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power minus t is 1 upon e raised to power t. Right? So if you just write it down systematically, what's going to happen is, it will be e raised to power t divided by 1 plus e raised to power t. So this is going to be the equation of sigmoid function. That means if I replace this e raised to power t with beta 0 plus beta 1x, the equation is going to become something like this: e raised to power beta 0 plus beta 1x divided by 1 plus e raised to power beta 0 plus beta 1x. Now I am trying to talk about why sigmoid function is actually used for logistic regression. One reason is that as logistic regression makes use of probability concept, and for probability values lies between 0 and 1. So sigmoid function always gives you values between 0 and 1. This is the first reason why sigmoid function is used. Second reason is, see, in case of linear regression, we have seen that whenever we want to minimize the residual, that is error, what do? We always go for derivatives, right? And finding out the derivative of e raised to power t is always easy, because derivative of e raised to power t is e raised to power t, and sigmoid function actually makes use of e raised to power t. So even if there is a need to find out the derivative, it's not going to take that much of time, or derivative of e raised to power t is always easy. So that is the reason why sigmoid function is actually used in case of logistic regression, right? Okay, I think people are already aware about logistic regression. Many of them, maybe. Okay. Anyway, let me go and let me start with the explanation. So logistic regression is again one of the most fundamental algorithms for classification in the machine learning world. Okay. Don't worry guys, those who are already aware about it, let me know that you are aware about it. I will skip this topic. Okay. If someone is already aware about logistic regression, please let me know. This particular diagram you already seen, right? You are going to see this particular flow diagram for almost all the algorithms in my notes, right? This is a complete flow diagram for machine learning life cycle. Okay, so introduction to logistic regression. So in linear regression, the type of data we deal with was quantitative, whereas we use classification models to deal with qualitative data or categorical data, right? Pass, fail, true, false, on, off, male, female, categorical data. If there is a data like this, we use logistic regression, or I mean to say for classification, we use categorical data. The algorithm used for solving classification problem first predicts the probability of each of the categories of the quantitative variables. That's what I was trying to talk about. The algorithms used for classification problem, for example, logistic regression is one of the algorithms which is used to solve classification types of problems. So what it does, it first predicts the probability of each of the categories. So for example, there are two categories. Affected by cancer, not affected by cancer. So the algorithm which is used for solving classification types of problems, those algorithms actually are going to find out the probability of each of the class, right? That is quality variables. Yes, no, right? As the basis for making the classification. So the main thing is that it makes the probability. And as the probabilities are continuous numbers, classification using probabilities also behave like regression methods. Because the value of the probabilities are continuous numbers. That is the reason. So logistic regression is one such type of classification model which is used to classify the dependent variable. Dependent means output variable, target variable. Okay. So the target will be to classify a dependent variable into two or more classes. So if two classes, that means binary class classification. If more than two classes, that means multi-class classification. But generally, you will see that linear regression is used for solving binary class classification problem. So the reason why don't we use linear regression for classification problems? The reason is simple. See, take this example. Suppose you took a survey and noted the response of each person as satisfied, neutral, or not satisfied. The response is nothing but what output. Let's suppose you have taken some survey and the output you got in that survey as whether the person is satisfied, neutral, or not satisfied. Now, obviously, this is not in numerical format, and we know that for machine learning techniques, machine learning algorithms, we need data into numerical format. That's what we will do is we will try to do something like this. We will assign 0 to not satisfied, 1 to neutral, and 2 to satisfied. But this doesn't mean that the gap between not satisfied and neutral is same as neutral and satisfied. That means 2 minus 1 or 1 minus 0 is 1. So it does not mean that satisfied is greater than neutral and neutral is greater than not satisfied. No, obviously not. This is there is no mathematical significance of this matrix. We can also map the categories like this. See, instead of satisfied 2, you can map it like this also. So it's completely fine to choose the ARMA mapping. If we apply linear regression to both the type of mappings, we will get different set of predictions. Also, we can get predictions like 1.2, 0.2, 2.3. So see, I told you, in case of classification, it makes you a probability. Now, is it possible to get the probability values like this? Probability cannot be greater than 1. It cannot be less than 0. But if you go and try to solve classification types of problems with the help of linear regression, this is what is going to happen, which makes no sense for categorical values. So there is no normal method to convert qualitative data into quantitative data for using linear regression. Although for binary classification, where there are only two categorical values, using least square method can give decent results. So this is not possible. What are you trying to discuss? We cannot make use of linear regression to solve classification types of problems because of this reason. Because in this case, probability values will be greater than p value will be greater than 1 and less than 0. It might happen. So in case of binary class classification, what do we do? We can do it like this. If there are two, if it's a binary class classification, yes, this is possible. We can assign predicted values for both the categories, right? So if a predicted value is greater than 0.5, it goes to, suppose there are two classes, black and white, and the probability is greater than 0.5, then it will be classified as belonging to white class, and so on. So there will be one criteria which or threshold which will be decided, right? So this is a simple example. See, there are two classes, black and white. So we can assign predicted values for both categories, such as y greater than 0 goes to white. Y means output. If the probability is greater than 0.5, the record belongs to white class, otherwise black. Although there will be some predictions for which the value can be greater than 1 or less than 0, making them hard to classify in any class. Nevertheless, linear regression can work decently for binary class classification, but not that well for multi-class classification. And hence, we use classification method for dealing with such problems. We use other classification methods. See, we will be talking about some other classification algorithms also, which are far better as compared to logistic regression. Logistic regression is just a simple or a basic algorithm or a technique to start with, I can say. But there are far better algorithms as compared to logistic regression, which we will be talking about maybe later on, like KNN, K nearest neighbor. It always gives good results as compared to logistic regression. But to start with, we are just trying to talk about a basic concept here, logistic regression. Generally, this is what we discuss. This is the first algorithm we discuss whenever we talk about classification. Likewise, linear regression is the first algorithm whenever we discuss it about prediction, I can say. Okay. So yes, This is the reason, whatever is written here, this is the reason why we cannot make use of linear regression to solve classification types of problems. Now let's start with logistic regression. Now what is the idea given here? Let's see. In case of linear regression, later on we can go through all these things. Okay? I will just try to explain you, okay, because I hope many people are already aware about it. So I will just try to explain the concept here. What is logistic regression? For linear regression, the model is defined as this equation we have seen y is equal to beta 0 plus beta 1 x. And for logistic regression, we calculate the probability. Y is the probability of given variable x belonging to certain class. And thus it's obvious that value of y should lie between 0 and 1 because it's a probability. But when we use equation 1 to calculate probability, you get values less than 0. This is the reason what I have discussed already. Why you cannot make use of linear regression to solve classification types of problems, because the probability value will be greater than 1 and less than 0, which is not going to make any sense. So what's going to happen in that case? So instead of this kind of equation which we are used for linear regression, so we need to use such an equation which always gives values between 0 and 1, and that equation is actually sigmoid function, right? Sigmoid function. Okay. Okay, so Akash, if Akash is saying everyone is not aware about it, students who have statistical subject know about it. Okay, okay, okay. So that's why I think they might not have joined it. No problem. So I hope, but till this point, everyone is able to understand. Till this point, I just try to explain you a simple thing. That I told you that logistic regression is used for solving classification types of problems, and you know what's a classification type of problem. And the basic idea behind logistic regression is that it is going to find out the probability if there is a problem to solve. Let's suppose you want to solve a classification type of problem where you want to identify whether the patient is affected by thyroid or not, right? So what you will do is, for a particular person, you are going to find out the probability whether what is the probability that he belongs to thyroid class or not thyroid class, affected by thyroid, not affected by thyroid. So whatever the probability which is greater, the person is going to belong to that class. That's an example of a binary class classification. Okay. And another thing we have discussed is why we cannot make use of linear regression to solve classification types of problems. So here the reason is that as logistic regression makes the probability, and if you make use of this kind of equation to solve classification types of problems, it will give you the value greater than 0, greater than 1 and less than 0 maybe, which is not going to make any sense because probability value always lies between 0 and 1. Okay, and that's why to get the value between 0 and 1, that's why in case of logistic regression we make use of sigmoid function. Let me tell you, it is not like that there is only sigmoid function. There are near about 13 14 functions which are available there. Sigmoid function, the reason is as I shown you, right? This is how sigmoid function looks like. So always remember, logistic regression makes use of sigmoid function. What is the equation of sigmoid function? See, it is given. Sigma of t is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power minus t. This is the equation of sigmoid function, and how it looks like. So this is 0 and 1. It always gives you values between 0 and 1. All the values are going to lie between 0 and 1, and that's what we want. And that is the reason why sigmoid function is actually used for logistic regression. I hope everyone is able to understand this particular part. Right. Now, ultimately, as I told you that we are going to find out the probability of a person belonging to certain class, and probability value always lies between 0 and 1. So sigmoid function is going to help us in that. Now, why do we use sigmoid function? Same reasons which I told you. First reason is the function sigmoid function range is bounded by 0 and 1. Thus, it's useful in calculating the probability for logistic function. Second thing is its derivative is easy to calculate than other functions, which is useful during gradient descent calculation. Now, what is gradient descent? We people are already aware of derivatives. Derivative always gives us minima. We are already seeing that in case of linear regression. And whenever you want to what we can say decrease the residual or find out the minimum of the residual, we are going to find the derivative. And the derivative of e raised to power t is e raised to power t only. That means finding the derivative is also easy in case of sigmoid function. And third reason why a sigmoid function is used for logistic regression is it's a simple way of introducing non-linearity to the model. So sigmoid function introduces non-linearity. How linear data looks like, we have seen that in linear regression. So the logistic function is given as e raised to, how this equation you are going to get. I have already told e raised to power beta 0 plus beta 1 x, we have 1 plus e raised to power beta 0 plus beta 1 x. Right? Just simply writing them correctly. This is the equation of logistic function. You can say. What is this beta 0 plus beta 1x? It is y, your output. So we are just replace e raised to power y. We are the 1 plus e raised to power y. We are replaced y with beta 0 plus beta 1x. Okay. But just to get the probability value between 0 and 1, logistic regression makes use of sigmoid function. Now let's see manipulation with the logistic function. So you can see, I hope everyone is able to see this. Sigma of x is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power minus x. 1 upon 1, see, this equation is nothing but what? Same thing, whatever I was trying to talk about earlier. Sigma of x is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power minus t. This minus t is replaced with beta 0 plus beta 1. Now what are we doing? We are just writing it properly and we are getting this particular equation. Sigma of x is equal to e raised to power beta 0 plus beta 1x. We are to 1 plus e raised to power beta 0 plus beta 1x. This is equation 1. What are we doing now? We are subtracting equation LHS and RHS of equation 1. We are subtracting it from 1. So if you do it like this and replace this beta 0 plus beta 1x with h of theta, it is going to be 1 minus p of x is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power h of theta. So 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power beta 0 plus beta 1x. This is what is going to happen. 1 minus p of x is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e raised to power beta 0 plus beta 1x. This is equation 2. Now if you divide equation 1 by equation 2, that is p of x divided by 1 minus p of x. So it will be e raised to power beta 0 plus beta 1x. Something like this we are going to do. And finally, taking the log of both the sides, you are going to get this particular equation. This one. So it is called as logit function. Log of p of x divided by 1 minus p of x is equal to beta 0 plus beta 1x. Because you might be knowing, right, how log works. So this is going to come here. So it will be beta 0 plus beta 1x. So we can see that logit function is linear in terms with x. This logit function is linear in terms with x. Okay. So this is something you can actually get from this particular equation of a sigmoid function, which is used for logistic regression. Now, what are we doing? So here, as I told you that even though it's a classification type of problem, but here we make use of probability. It makes use of probability. So we are writing down something like this: y is equal to 0 if probability of x is 0.5. What is the 0.5? 0.5 is a threshold. Again, there's a method to decide this particular value, but generally it is 0.5. So I mean to say what? If probability of a particular variable, let's say x, probability of a person belonging to, let's say, belonging to the people affected by cancer, is less than 0.5. So this class. Not affected greater than 0.5. So see, if probability is less than 0.5, y is equal to 0. Or otherwise, if it is greater than 0.5, greater than equal to 0.5, y equal to 1. So these are nothing but what? These are classes. Okay, this is output. It can be anything. Diabetic patient or non-diabetic patient. Something you can take any example. So this particular equation is actually just giving you mathematical representation of a output, we can say. And according to that, you can find out the cost function. Now, cost function is what? See, cost of p of x. What is this p of x? P of x is nothing but prediction by our model, and y is nothing but original value. So cost of p of x is equal to minus log of p of x. This is from previous equation. If y is equal to 1, otherwise it is minus log of 1 minus p of x. See, there are only two classes, right? So if the probability of one class is p of x, obviously the probability of another class will be 1 minus p of x. As simple as that, right? Simple probability rule. So if y equal to 1, then this is the cost. If y equal to 0, then this is the cost. Now why is it so? Let's see. If p of x, that is prediction by our model, and the original result, if they are same, that is both of them they are 1, then cost is 0. If both of them they are 0, again cost is 0. But if both of them they are not matching, if your model is saying that the record belongs to 0th class and originally the record belongs to 1, cost is infinity, because you know that minus any log of 0 is going to be infinity. And same is here. If probability of x is equal to 1 and your model is saying that 0, again cost is infinity. So this is a simple cost function which can give you an idea about what will be the cost if the predicted result and the original result, if they are not matching. This is a simple mathematical representation I can say. And again, the cost function for the whole training set can be given as like this. Job theta is equal to, again, do not worry about this particular equation. It's not like that you need to remember it. This is just for your understanding purpose. So this is a simple example what I have shown. And in general, for the complete training data, this is going to be the cost function. Okay, for complete training data. And yes, if you go and if you try to take the derivative of that with respect to theta, it is going to look like this. Okay, so as we have discussed in case of linear regression, so we have actually taken the derivative in case of gradient descent method, exactly same thing. Again, you need to remember amount of anything here, just for your knowledge I am showing it here. This is the equation for cost function, right? Because we want what? Minimum cost. That's why we take the derivative. Now, so whatever we have seen, it was like binary classification, two classes. But what if we have multiple logistic functions? So we can generalize a simple logistic function, which was e raised to power beta 0 plus beta 1 x divided by 1 plus e raised to power beta 0 plus beta 1 x. Something like that it was there. Now what are we doing? We are just trying to generalize it. So this sigma of x is equal to e raised to power beta 0 plus beta 1 x1 plus and so on beta p x p divided by 1 plus e raised to power beta 1 beta 0 plus beta 1 x and so on beta p x p. Right? And again, the logic function can also be generalized like this. Exactly the same thing whatever we have done, but it was simple. Now it's multiple. So in this case, it was simple. Now it is multiple logistic function. So we are just extending the previous concept. Right? Now, multinomial logistic regression. Now, what is this multinomial logistic regression? It means that, see, till now I was talking about some examples where there are two classes, right? Diabetic, non-diabetic, pa, fail, gender, like male, female, only two classes. But in real time, what will happen is you will see some examples where you will be getting more than two classes in the output. No, what to do in that case? So in that case, generally making use of a logistic regression is actually avoided because there are many other classification models such as for such scenarios where there are more than two classes. So in that case, going with logistic regression is avoided, and there are other algorithms which can work better as compared to logistic regression if there are multiple classes involved in the data in the output column. Okay, that's what is actually given here in this particular paragraph. Learning the algorithm. So how actually the model will be trained according to the algorithm, according to logistic regression. See, here this E is nothing but what error. Why it's error? Because see, h of x of n. This is nothing but the probability by our model, and y of n is the actual class of that particular record, right? Xn, Yn. So h of xn will be the output by our model, and Yn will be the original. So error h of xn, Yn is equal to ln 1 plus e raised to power minus Yn w raised to t xn. W is nothing but the weightage given to that particular feature. So here, this particular thing, whatever we are getting, so we are just trying to make use of the summation sign. We are just trying to take a derivative, and we are getting this kind of equation. Again, don't worry about all this particular thing. This is just for your knowledge. Okay, do not go in the deep how the derivative is taken and all those things. If you want, you can do. I'm just trying to show you mathematical representation of all these things. So to learn, we are going to minimize the following error because this is an error. Obviously, we are going to take a derivative of that, right? So simple, and we know the reason why derivative because it always uses the minimum. So the minimum error looks like this after taking first derivative, for example. So with the point loss derivative, we can determine the gradient of the sample error. So del of EIN of W, again derivative of this particular equation, and finally we get something like this. So our weight update rule per batch gradient descent technique. So what is this? Wi plus 1 is equal to, so weight of the next let's say next feature is equal to weight of the previous feature minus eta. Eta is nothing but eta is the learning rate. It's actually a constant value. Generally, the learning rate is 0.0, and even I have talked about learning rate in case of linear regression. This will be given by user, or we have some methods which will decide the values of eta, but generally it is 0.01. So generally eta value should be as small as possible, because then your model is going to learn a lot of things slowly. Okay, so wi plus 1 is equal to wi plus beta in case w is nothing but the weightage for that particular feature. Then eta is the learning rate. Okay, now this is something important: evaluation of a classification model. Now, if you remember till now, in case of linear regression, whatever we have seen, so we talked about okay, how to create a prediction model. So in that case, we have seen that linear regression is used for solving prediction types of problems. But here the problem is not prediction. The problem is about classification. Now, always remember, whenever there is a classification problem to be solved, you cannot make use of R square statistics or adjusted R square statistics to check how your model has actually performed. So always remember, whenever there is a classification problem, we make use of something called as confusion matrix. This is not the only concept. This is not the concept only for logistic regression. It can be used for all the algorithms which are used to solve classification types of problems. So whenever there is a classification type of a problem, classification model to be created, we use confusion matrix to evaluate the model, right? Or to know how accurate your model is. So we use confusion matrix. Now our next target is to understand what's a confusion matrix, which is very important. Again, because same thing is going to be used in all the other algorithms. That's what is given here. See, in machine learning, once we have a result of classification problem, how do we measure how accurate our classification is? For regression, we have different metrics like R squared, score, mean squared, error, adjusted R squared. What are the metrics to measure the credibility of the classification model? So metrics in regression problem, the accuracy is generally measured in terms of difference in the actual values and the predicted values. That's what happens in case of regression or prediction types of problems. But in classification problem, the credibility of the model is measured using confusion matrix generated. So our target is to understand what is this now. Simple thing. Why do we use confusion matrix? Confusion matrix is just used to evaluate the classification types of model. Whenever there is a problem to be solved, that problem belongs to this particular type. Once you solve the problem, once you develop the model, now if there is a time to evaluate the model, for evaluating the model, you always use confusion matrix. That is how accurately the true positives and true negatives are predicted. So to understand confusion matrix, one needs to understand what is true positive, true negative, false negative. That's what we will try to see. And once you have a confusion matrix, you can derive all these values from the confusion matrix, because there are direct formulas for all these things. Like what is accuracy, what is recall, precision, F1 score, specificity, area under the curve, and receiver operator characteristics. It should be ROC. Each and everything can be derived from confusion matrix. So now we will see what is confusion matrix. Remember simple thing, confusion matrix is something which is used to evaluate the performance of a classification model. As simple as that. Okay, let's see. So this is how confusion matrix looks like. Now, what is the meaning of this? Let me give a simple example. Let's say this is the confusion. How to get a confusion matrix? That I will show you. Anyway, we are going to implement logistic regression also. So I will be showing you the code, and you will get how we actually get confusion matrix. Now see, this is a matrix. Here we write an actual values of the confusion matrix. See, there will be questions based on confusion matrix. Try to understand it. Actual values, and there will be predicted values here. So let's say we want to solve a problem where we want to classify a patient as diabetic, non-diabetic patient. Let's say diabetic and non-diabetic. Diabetic and non-diabetic. It's a classification type of problem. Or you can show it as 1 0 1 0, anything. Okay. But these values are showing actual values and this is showing predicted values. Let's say, suppose there are total, let's say 100 patients are there. For 100 patients, we are just trying to check in which class they are. Whether they are in the class of diabetic patient or non-diabetic patient. So let's suppose out of 100 patients, see, these are the values. true positive. This is called as true positive. This is called as true negative. False positive, false negative. Remember it like this. Okay. True positive cross true negative. False positive cross false negative. Remember this. So let's say the true positive value in our model, which we got after creating the model, is out of 100. Our model is saying that, let's say this is 40, and true negative value it is saying, let's say 15. Okay, and this is what? This is false positive. Let's say false positive value of our model is maybe like so 40 plus 50, 55, 55 plus let's say this is 20. Okay, and I think it should be 25, right? So let's say this is what our model is doing. Now, what is the meaning of all these values? How one can interpret all these values? So see, true positive. So for that you need to understand what is true positive. The true positive is nothing but what? Try to understand it like this. It means out of 100 patients, see, this example I am trying to talk about. Okay? This one. So if true positive value is 40, it means that our model is saying that out of 100 patients, our model is saying that 40 patients are affected by diabetes. Our model is saying that predicted value, right? Predicted. Our model is saying that there are 40 patients who are affected by diabetes or they are diabetic, and actually 40 patients are affected by diabetes or they are diabetic. See, I will again repeat. Our model is saying that there are 40 patients who are affected by diabetes, and actually they are affected by diabetes. That is true positive. What is true negative? So our model is saying that right? Our model is saying that there are 15 people who are not affected by diabetes, not affected by diabetes, and actually there are 15 people who are not affected by diabetes. That means 40 plus 15, 55. So out of 100, our model is correctly predicting. Our model is correctly classifying 55 patients. Okay, what is false positive? It means that our model is saying that there are 20 people who are not affected by diabetes. Sorry, our model is saying that there are 20 people who are affected by diabetes. See, D. See this one, diabetes. So our model is saying that there are 20 people who are affected by diabetes, but actually they are not affected by diabetes because ND, not affected by diabetes. And what is false negative? It means that our model is saying that there are 25 people who are not affected by diabetes, but actually they are affected by diabetes. That means 20 plus 25. For 45 people, our model is classifying them incorrectly. Right? So here our model is saying that there are 25 people who are not affected by diabetes, but actually they are affected by diabetes. Here our model is saying that there are 20 people who are affected by diabetes, but actually they are not affected by diabetes. That means for these two cases, our model is not classifying the patients correctly. But yes, out of 100, 55 patients are classified correctly. So whatever, that means our model is actually giving us the accuracy at 55%. So this value should be higher. So again, see if you go like this, 40 plus 20 is what? 60. 25 plus 15 is what? So this will be like 20 plus 20, 40. Now whatever you are going to get, addition is what? 100. If you go like this, 40 plus 25 is what? 65. 20 plus 15 is what? Again it is, see this is 35, right? Again the addition is 100. The addition should come out as total number of records. So 100, 100, 100, 100. Anyway you go like this, right? So I hope everyone is able to understand what are all these things. True positive, true negative, false positive, false negative. If you want, I will go through explanation also. See, what is true positive? It's given you. What is true negative? It's given you. This confusion matrix is very important. Okay, one needs to understand. See, what is true positive value? A result that was predicted as positive by the classification model and also is positive. That means classification model is our model. So our model is saying that someone is positive, and actually that person is positive. That is true positive. True negative is what? Our model is saying that someone is negative, and actually that person is negative. It's true negative. That means our model is true about positive result as well as negative result. What is false positive? A result was predicted as positive by the classification model, that is our model, but actually it is negative. It means our model is saying that someone is affected by diabetes, but actually that person is not affected by diabetes. So this is something to take care of. And what is false negative? Again, our model is saying that someone is not affected by diabetes, but actually that person is actually affected by diabetes or positive. So that is true positive, true negative, false positive, false negative. I hope everyone is able to understand this particular thing. Because see, what you will be getting output as a confusion matrix directly when you will try to create a classification model with the help of logistic regression. And again, everything else is actually dependent on logistic regression only. Whatever you will be talking about, like accuracy, recall, precision, F1 score, specificity, area under, or all these receiver operator characteristics. Everything is going to be based on logistic regression only. Okay, so I hope everyone is able to understand this. So the credibility of the model is based on how many correct predictions did the model do. Accuracy formula. What it is? The mathematical formula for accuracy is true positive plus true negative divided by true positive plus true negative plus false positive plus false negative. That means in our case, 40 plus what was it? 15. That is 55 divided by 100. So 55% was the accuracy. I shown it to you, right? Or it can be said that it's defined as the total number of correct classifications divided by total number of classifications. What is recaller sensitivity? Recaller sensitivity is equal to true positive divided by true positive plus false negative. What is this? Recall, as the name suggests, it is a measure of from the total number of positive results, how many positives were correctly predicted by the model. From the total number of positive results, how many total positives, how many positive results were correctly predicted by the model. That is called as a recall. And again, this is very important. So it shows how relevant the model is in terms of positive results. So it means how your model is actually behaving for classifying the patients as positive or diabetic in our case. So let's suppose in the previous model, the model gave 50 correct predictions, but failed to identify 200 cancer patients. So recall in that case will be 50 plus 50 divided by 50 plus 200. 50 it is talking correctly, but 200 it is saying that false negative. That means model is saying that someone is not affected by diabetes, but actually that person is affected by diabetes. So here your model is saying that there are 200 patients who are not affected by diabetes, but actually they are affected by diabetes or cancer, whatever it may be. So in that case, the recall is going to be 0.2 or 20%. That means the model was able to recall only 20% of the cancer patients. Similarly, precision. So in case of recall, it is TP divided by TP plus Fn. In case of precision, it is TP divided by TP plus Fp. So precision is a measure of amongst all the positive predictions, how many of them were actually positive. See, if you are confusing because of this particular definition, don't worry. At least try to go with the formula. And as and when you will read it one or two times, definitely you will remember it. And again, no need to remember anything actually. We have confusion methods. So let's suppose the model identified 50 people as cancer patients, but also raised false alarm for 100 patients. So it will be 33%. Precision will be 33%. But we have a problem here. What is the problem? The problem is what to choose. Whether the precision should be high or recall should be high. So as evident from the previous model, the model had a very high accuracy but performed poorly in terms of precision and recall. So necessarily accuracy is not the only metric. See, if you get 90% accuracy, but if you get very low recall value or precision value, Again, that is not true. So one should not only depend on accuracy. That's what it is actually talking about. So for example, imagine a scenario where the requirement was that the model recalled all the defaulters who did not pay back the loan. And suppose there were 10 such defaulters, and to recall these 10 defaulters, and the model gave you 20 results, out of which only 10 are the actual defaulters. Now the recall of the model is 100%, but the precision goes down to 50. So there is a trade-off between recall and precision. So if you carefully observe this particular diagram, very high precision, at that time recall is very low. As and when precision decreasing, recall increasing, and after some time they are going to remain same. Right. So what you can see is that as observed from the graph, with increase in the recall, there is a drop in the precision of the model. So the question is what to go for, precision or recall? The answer actually depends on the business requirement. For example, if you are predicting the cancer, see, this is something very important. Which one should be higher, whether it's a recall or the precision? There is no fixed answer for that. So this example you can remember. If you are predicting a cancer, you need 100% recall in that case. Because see, cancer, that type of problem if you are trying to solve. And if your model is saying that someone is affected by cancer, even if he is not affected, again, so that is not good. So if you are predicting a cancer, you need 100% recall. But suppose if you are predicting whether a person is innocent or not, you need 100% precision in that case. Can we maximize both at the same time? No. So there is a need for a better metric, and that's where comes the concept of F1 score. Now, what is F1 score? F1 score is something called as harmonic mean. F1 score is actually harmonic mean between recall and precision. Recall and precision. What do you mean by harmonic mean? Suppose there are two values, A and B. So the harmonic mean between A and B, you might be doing, it is written as 1 upon A plus 1 upon B. That's why if P is the precision and R the recall, so what's going to happen here? So you can write down this particular equation like this will be, you can write it as say B A plus B. So this is like this 2 into 1 upon A plus B. So it is going to be 2AB divided by A plus B. So your harmonic mean between recall and precision, that is F1 score, is going to be 2 into precision into recall divided by precision plus recall. This is the formula for F1 score. It is going to be. Here you can look out. See. It is clear that we need metric that considers both precision and recall for evaluating the model. One such metric is F1 score. F1 score is defined as the harmonic mean of precision and recall, and that's why this kind of equation you are going to get. Now the next thing is specificity or true negative rate. Again, this is simple. Specificity is equal to true negative divided by true negative plus false positive. Or it can be said that it quantifies the total number of negatives predicted by the model with respect to total number of actual negatives or non-favorable outcomes. As there is true negative rate, there is something called as false positive rate also. It is defined as 1 minus specificity, or false positive divided by true negative plus false positive. This is true negative divided by true negative plus false positive. This is false positive divided by true negative plus false positive. Specificity, true negative rate. 1 minus specificity, false positive rate. And the graph between true positive rate and false positive rate, it is actually called as ROC. Why it is used? Simple use of ROC, I will tell you. It is going to help you to decide the best model out of 3 to 4 models. Generally, what do? We try to apply more than one algorithm on the same data set. See, it's not always that we only depend only on one algorithm. No, not at all. We always try to make use of more than one algorithm to solve the same problem. And that's why we need something to decide which algorithm has given us the best accuracy. And to decide that, we make use of something called as receiver operator characteristics. And this is actually used in real-time projects. See, idea of logistic regression I already talked about. But this is something, again, while implementing, we make use of. Again, it depends on your interest actually. If you people take interest, I will explain it. If you do not take any interest in implementation, no problem. Because theoretically, I have already explained you what is logistic regression. I'll be showing you the implementation of logistic regression. Yeah, this one, because we'll be solving one problem to identify a patient whether it is diabetic or non-diabetic. Right? It's a classification type of problem. Again, we are using Python for that. So each and every step I have shown. This is like a complete model development, classification model. And again, deployment part. I have shown you a already deployed model in terms of linear regression also. So all these things actually depend on your interest. There are a lot of things to discuss. Anyway, maybe I will try to continue from receiver operator characteristics from next class itself. But I hope till this point everyone is clear. Till this point. Okay. So from this one, I will try to continue in the next class. Let's see if you get a chance in between. Let me know. We will try to conduct some classes extra, right? If it required, right? Let's see how it goes. So this is the point which I will be discussing in the next class. So for today, I think we will stop and we will continue the next session. Yeah, yes, guys. If any question you ask, otherwise